Hey guys, Nick here. So today we're taking a look at two brand new models for 2025, which is the Yamaha Kodiak 450 Special Edition and the Kodiak 700 Special Edition. Now these are both top trim models in each of their lineups. So we're going to compare and contrast these two. What are some of the differences? What are the added bonuses if you go up to a 700? Or if you stay on the smaller side with the 450, what are some pluses on that end? Of course, we'll talk about the different features, the pricing of these models, and the other Kodiak models you get to choose from with that. We'll also go for a full tour around each of these machines, and we'll take them for a spin, and I'll let you know my opinions on both of these models at the end of the video. So let's get started. So let's take a step back and talk a little bit about the models you get to choose from in each of their lineups, starting off with the 450. Now, as we go through each of these models, I'll have the pricing go up on screen for what their MSRP is, and of course with the destination. Now, all these will share that same 610 destination charge, of course, on top of that MSRP. But starting off with the basic 450 Kodiak, your real entry-level 450 powertrain, you'll get a display on it, you'll get two-wheel, four-wheel drive, but you won't get some of the added features like this has. Then it goes up to a power steering model, which is going to give you, of course, the power steering. It's going to give you the aluminum wheels and that third headlight. Now with the SE model, you get a special color scheme, which is called a desert tan / midnight blue, which is pretty simple, but that's really what they call it from Yamaha. And it's a really sharp combo, especially with the aluminum wheels with those silver finish highlights around the outside of the rims. With just the power steering model, it is a full black aluminum wheel, and you don't have that polished finish on the outside of the lip, and you get a steel wheel on that base model. A couple other added bonuses besides just the fancy paint and the aluminum wheels finish. You of course get that Warn winch, which is a 2,500 pound winch right up front. You get that third headlight, you get power steering, and another big feature is that differential lock you get on the 450, which is a really nice special added bonus, as a lot of other vehicles in the same platform from other competitors don't offer a diff lock on their 450 or 400 machines usually. So that's a little added bonus on the Yamaha, and of course you get independent suspension all around on both of their machines. Now let's move on to the 700. Now with the 700 Kodiak, of course you get three models to choose from as well. You get a base model which doesn't give you that third headlight or even a display on it. So that's kind of a pretty large downgrade when you're looking at the base models. It's kind of a bummer that they don't even include a display on the 700. But you do, of course, get that 700 powertrain. You get independent suspension all around, and then you get a steel wheel on the base. You get a flippable two-wheel, four-wheel lever too on the base. And then jumping up, they make a power steering model, which is going to give you, of course, power steering. It'll give you that third headlight and that really nice LED display on the 700. You'll get the aluminum wheels, which will be a full black finish on those. And that's really about it. Then going up to the SE here, it's the same deal as that 450. You get that differential lock, you get the 2,500 pound Warn winch right up front, you get the aluminum wheels with that silver finished accent around the outside of the lips to them, and as well you even get a receiver on the back of the 700 Kodiak, which is a nice little bonus if you plan on hooking up trailers to one of these machines. So that's a quick rundown on what of these get, but let's talk a little bit about their powertrains. Now, before we continue any further in the video, I want to make sure we briefly mention and thank Jaff Motors, located in Glenville, New York, for lending me both of these brand new units today to show you all and ride them a little bit to talk about what they're all about and what you're getting with them. So be sure to check them out if you're looking for any Yamaha product, and they as well sell Honda products if you're looking for even possibly a Honda ATV. So I'll have their info on screen and as well down below. So be sure to check them out and tell them Bricknick sent you. All right, now let's get back into the video. Alrighty, now let's talk some numbers on the 450. This has a 421cc fuel-injected, liquid-cooled single-cylinder engine, which is paired up to Honda's Ultramatic transmission, which is basically a belt drive machine. But the special thing about the Yamaha ATVs is they have a 10-year warranty on their belt drives, as these adjust speeds through the belt drive with the clutches, but the actual engagement from a standstill to start to rolling is done through clutches which slip versus the slipping happening on the belt itself, which is why these don't really burn belts up to begin with. And so for Yamaha to put a 10-year warranty on its belt is a pretty bold statement, especially when you look at some of its competitors and how many of those are frequently having belt replacements without listing names. But moving on from the engine, a couple other things. You have a 3.8 gallon fuel capacity on the Kodiak, which is a pretty nice size tank. It's going to keep you out and running all day long. Of course, you have a digital fuel gauge on that dashboard as well. And you get 2-wheel, 4-wheel drive, and diff lock on the SE, which is that added bonus. 2-wheel drive, the back axle is always going to be locked up. That's going to be solid. Both wheels will always turn. And then when you engage 4-wheel drive up front, that's going to be a limited slip differential up front. And then when you put it on diff lock, it is going to lock that front differential. So all 4 wheels are going to be always turning, and none of them are going to have an open diff where power isn't going to them. Which is the big bonus of the special edition on these, is that diff lock. I know I've said that, but that really is the big feature that sets it apart. And of course you get other huge things like that winch and the finish, but the diff lock is really a huge selling point on these commonly. Now let's talk a little bit about the stats on that 700. Alrighty, now let's talk some numbers on the 700. So let's talk about that engine. It's a 686cc, fuel injected, liquid cooled, single cylinder engine, which is of course paired up to that CVT transmission we just covered with the 450, and of course that includes that 10-year warranty on that belt. But little bonus on the 700, besides getting more power, of course, you're going to get a 4.8 gallon fuel tank. It's going to burn a bit more fuel, so you just got just shy of a gallon more of a bigger gas tank on the 700. But a nice little thing is the gas tank is actually pretty low set. It's under the seat on the 700 versus on the 450 it's right there in the center console, where this you actually have a storage space there. But we'll talk a bit about that when we get up close and do a tour around these machines. And of course you get the same thing with that 2-wheel, 4-wheel drive and that differential lock, which is all done through the handlebar. And of course you get that Warn winch right up front. And so that's really it powertrain wise on the 700. This is a real snotty, fun motor that you can really punch and have a good time with. But if you want to go and do some work with it, you can throw it in that low range and it's gonna pull. But anyways, let's get up close and go on a tour around these units, and then we'll take them for a spin. Alrighty, so with the 450 SE here, we're going to do a quick walk around. Now I did a full dedicated video last fall to this unit, so check that out if you're leaning towards the 450. But anyways, let's start up front. You actually have a 12-volt circuit outlet right here. Nice little touch that you get that on the 450, of course. None of this really opens up, so there's nothing here to really look at. But as we move our way down, we can see our Warn winch, which is a 2,500 pound winch. This is actually a really nice setup. It is a steel cable, so just practice good safety use with these winches, of course. And you do have a free spool right here. If you turn that, you can actually take your winch and pull it out. You get your free spool and then twist it back and it locks it. So if you gotta pull it out 20, 30 feet, you are able to do so. Anyways, moving around to our light side, take a look at those aluminum wheels. Nice setup. You get a really nice kind of beefy tire too on the 450. I like the tread pattern that they used on these. They handle well. They're not super noisy either if you're on any kind of pavement or asphalt. And then moving in the back here, you are going to see our coolant reservoir, which we have a low right here and a high full right there. So it's right there in the middle where it should be, or even maybe top it off a little bit. Moving on this way, we have our oil check, which you pull this cover off. Couple gaskets holding it in. Our dipstick is right there. You unscrew it, dip it in, you don't screw it in, and that's how you check your oil on the 450. And I like to let them warm up and run a couple minutes, shut them down, let it sit for 30 seconds on a flat surface when I check the oil on my machines. Aluminum wheel in the back, of course, a little wider of a tread and tire in the back, of course. It's your independent rear suspension here. Another big thing on the 450 and that 700 SE, they include a full hitch right here, so you can slide your receiver right in to any kind of trailers. And what's nice is that's going to set your ball back to about here behind the wheels, so when you're doing some really tight maneuvering, it just kind of throws the trailer a little bit further back from the machine, which I like. On the base 450, you only get a little ball slot on the back of the frame there. So this allows you to put a whole hitch in it, and not just a ball where your trailer is going to be mounted right about here. So it pushes it back a good amount, which I like. And that's a nice little bonus that I don't even think Yamaha really mentions on the website. Your fuel fill is right up top here by your dashboard. Same display on this as you do on the base 450s, but you do get an updated and upgraded left and right side of your handlebar. That is the same ones that are shared on the 700 platform and even the Grizzly, which is a little bit nicer of a setup than what comes on the base 450. They don't mention that either, but it is actually something noticeable. If you are next to a base model in the SC, you do notice that these are a little nicer, premium of a button. They feel good, operation's good, the layout is of course great. Then here in the back, lift our seat up. You actually do get a little bit of storage space. Pull this out, you can almost fit a whole nother battery in there. There's your actual battery though for the unit. Some of your fuses, your air box is right there as well. And that's really it on the 450. But let's get up close and take a look at that dashboard. Alrighty, so we're gonna kind of breeze through here on the 450, but on our dashboard on the left side, we'll have our neutral, reverse, and our park. So as I shift in reverse, our park, you'll see it right there. It won't tell you if you're in high or low range though, but it is labeled on it. This is our reverse, our park, our neutral, our high, and our low. Might be hard to see, but it is actually there. If I go like that, yeah, you can see it a little bit. But it is there. Right side, it's gonna be power steering light, temp lights, check engine lights, your 4-wheel drive. So you push that in, it'll show 4-wheel drive right there. Slide the switch over, press the orange out. You can hear it engage. There's our differential lock that I told you about earlier, and that will flash and just undo it. That's all you have to do. Come to a stop, you can leave it in like high or low range. I don't think you're ever gonna be using diff lock in high range. You'll probably be using it in low, but if you get the wheel speeds really high up and it's limiting you in speed for, you know, the regulations they have it for safety, there's an override button right here. And you basically just hold that and it'll allow you to get full speed out of the display. On our left side, we'll have our out and our in for our winch, our emergency kill, and our run switch. Our headlights, we have a low and a high beam. Your high beam turns on the third headlight. Your low beam is only the 2 bottom bulbs. And then of course our starter is right here. Let's go look at the 700. Alrighty, now moving on to the 700 Kodiak. Take a look at those aluminum wheels. It's the same wheel, it's just a different tire. It's a little bit bigger of a wheel and tire too. Taller springs as well, stiffer springs, so the machine's gonna be overall wider and it's gonna be a bit higher up. Moving on down though, our winch of course, free spool. We talked about that on the 450, so we're not gonna cover that again. Our coolant reservoir is a little tucked up there, so it's a little harder and hidden to get to, but we'll pull this front cover off. Alrighty, now that the hood's off, your battery, fuses, all your main electronics are right under here, under that shroud. But let's move around to that right side, which is going to be our oil check, which is a little bit different of a mechanism on a 700. You do that, pull the dipstick right there, clean it off, you don't screw it in. Actually, these don't screw in actually at all on the 700s. You pull them out, it has kind of a gasket to it. And then you just pop this in, twist it, and it locks. Moving around to the back, it's the same deal on the 450. You get that receiver on it, which is a nice bonus. Like that to do it. Of course, it's a more beefier suspension and framing on the 700. It's a wider machine, and that's really it. Let's move into the dashboard. Alrighty, now that we're sitting on the 700, we're gonna start below. Big old nice sealed storage compartment. You can actually fit a lot in there, full-size water bottles. Your fuel fill is right here. Fuel tank is under the seat. So we're not going to show you under the seat because it is a fuel tank there. There's no storage, there's no nothing there, but you have the storage right here, which is a nice little piece. This is all the same, this is all the same, that's all the same. What's not the same is your key on the right here with your 12-volt outlet, which is kind of hidden into the fender there, versus the 450 was on that front of the machine. Now in your display, you get a little bit nicer and bigger, grander of a display. Your left side tells you your reverse, your park, but it also tells you when you go into your high range and your low range, which is a nice little bonus. All your main warning lights, high beam light up top in the blue, power steering light, which goes off once you start it and run it, check engine light, temperature light, battery light. You have, of course, your odometer, clock here on the bottom, hours, voltage, coolant temp, which I really like. That's a nice touch. It's all digital. Odometer, you have 2 trips on this, your wrench, which comes on when it's time to be serviced, and of course your reset light. That's really everything on the display, but it's a nicer, bigger display. It's easier to read, a little more info to it than on the 450. I like the coolant temp, especially because 700s, you know, they get a little hotter, burn a bit more fuel, And so I like that they do that, especially if down the road you want to put a snowplow on this. It's nice to be able to monitor your coolant temps a little bit more accessibly. That's everything on the 700. I think it's time we take these for a spin. Well, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you all did enjoy on the 450 and the 700 SE. If you did, please make sure to give this video a like, subscribe if you are new to the channel. It really helps support the channel so I can continue to make these videos for you guys to enjoy, and as well so you can see more of my content. Now, in regards to final remarks and conclusions on this, something to really keep in mind is that 700 is going to put you about $3,000 more, which is a lot of money because of where it puts you in the price point. There's some other machines, of course, on the market, but it's not so much for that. It's more that you're spending $12,000, $13,000, you know, close to in that range, and that's a lot of money on just an ATV. When you can get a basic ATV for around $7,000 and still have a lot of hoot and fun with it, like on the Kodiak 450s. Really, the big difference on these two is the 450 is a great homeowner around the property kind of machine where you're just doing light work. You might want to put a snowplow on it, plow the driver in the winter, and having that diff lock's a really nice added feature. It's not going to burn up fuel, it's not going to sink a huge hole in your wallet, and it's not going to take up a huge amount of space in your garage. Now, 700 isn't that much larger, but it is noticeable. It's a little bit longer, it's a little bit wider, and it's a little bit heavier, but not by much. And that 700 is going to eat more fuel. It's going to have a lot more power, and that's really a machine. You want to have a bit more open property, or at least trails to go and open it up to run it, because you can notice it when you engage it and you start to run it only about 10-15 mile an hour. It wants to go, it wants to move, versus the 450 you're crawling at 5-7 mile an hour, and you notice that it's happy there, and it'll of course go through 30, 40, almost 50 mile an hour, but the 700 at 20 or 30 mile an hour is going to be really happy at those speeds cruising around. It's going to have just that more top end power, of course, to it, but it's still a really grunty machine in the way that it's belted and geared. If you want something super top high-end power output that you can go crazy 50-60 mile an hour, then yeah, you're probably going to want to go towards the Grizzly. But that's not really what we're focusing on here today. If you're going to be doing a lot of trail work, a lot of trail riding, and you're going to be doing some pretty heavy use around your property, towing, moving different things, trailers, boat trailers, really working the machine, or really just wanting to hoot on it and open it up, then the 700 is a really nice piece for that. But to the everyday person that's just a homeowner wanting to get out, do some yard work, get around, pull a little trailer, grab some firewood, the 450 is going to be more than enough power to do what you need to do on a daily basis. So I hope that really sums it up, the big difference between the two in their powertrains. Of course, all the added bling is nice, but you are starting to get into a higher price point on both of these for their categories, as they're the top end parts. But you get a lot of nice bonuses that some of the competitors don't offer, and having that real nice high quality Warren winch thrown in at that price point makes it very competitively priced against some of its competitors. And that's something to keep in mind when deciding. So I hope that did help. We're going to wrap the video up now though. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new. I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.